When one of my favorite creators announced that he was releasing a book, I put my reading list aside and went and bought his book. And I honestly could have finished it in one day. It was keeping my attention that well, which is not something that usually happens for me. But I didn't have that many hours in one day, so it took me a couple weeks, but 3 sessions to finish the book. Now you might be asking, who is this person and why was this book so interesting? It's Gabriel Conte. He and his wife Jess have been some of my favorite influencers since I discovered them shortly after they started their joint channel in 2016. They are just genuine Christians and have the most beautiful relationship, and honestly gave me hope that a relationship like that was possible. They shared a little bit about their family history and their past in their YouTube videos, but this book that he just put out, A Mission for Meaning, goes so much deeper. The subtitle is The Choices That Lead to the Life You Really Want. And that's what he really tries to emphasize throughout this book, is that there were little choices and little circumstances, and sometimes big circumstances, that came about in his life that might not have seemed like the most positive thing at the time, but they ended up guiding his life in a direction that now he's in a completely different spot than if things had worked out the way he wanted them to, or the way that he thought they should. And how he had to make difficult decisions in order to get to where he is now, in prioritizing different things than perhaps his colleagues were prioritizing. And just being really intentional with what group he's surrounding himself with and what choices he's making. This book felt to me like an autobiography crossed with a personal development book. It had enough stories and anecdotes to keep my interest, but enough thought-provoking concepts to also keep it engaging and introspective. I'm pretty sure I read the first 8 chapters in the first sitting, and it took me about 2 hours. I really appreciated the vulnerability that he showed in this book and the way he was able to glean lessons from so many different things that happened in his life. I highly recommend reading this book if you want to be motivated to really be intentional about the choices you're making in your life, and really just seeing the bigger picture and processing through how different things can affect your life and play out in the long run, and really just trusting that there is a bigger picture and that little things that go wrong in your life aren't necessarily bad. Often those disappointments are actually redirections. I think that's something he might have said in here. I do want to briefly flip through and find a couple of my favorite quotes. He says here, "Focusing on the lessons learned is a huge part of what I think it takes to become successful. I believe there are many opportunities throughout life, alternate routes to get you back on the road you want to be on. Second chances, third chances, fourth chances exist. Notice them. There is literally nothing you can do to change your past, but there's a whole heck of a lot you can do to change your future." There's a concept that he weaves throughout the book, and that is the concept that your life is a miracle. You being here on this planet is a miracle. So what are you gonna do with this miracle of life that you've been given? Gabe is one of those people, like myself, that communicates a lot more succinctly in writing. So I've heard these concepts come out over the last 6 years of YouTube videos, and specifically the last 2 or 3. But hearing them in this book format hit different. I think this is one of those books that I'm gonna go back and read once a year or something like that. I highly recommend you go get yourself a copy. It just dropped in October, and they're everywhere that you can get books. And it'll only take you a few hours to read it, so go pick up a copy for yourself and get inspired.